This is the Ohio AgNet, broadcasting from the Voice You Know at the News You Trust studios, sponsored by BASF and Veltima Fungicide, the proven number one for the toughest corn diseases with long-lasting residual when you need to be confident your fungicide will perform. I'm Joel Penordwood, taking a look at farm news with you this morning. A quick calendar note to pass along. Don't forget that the Jackson County Regional Livestock Market will have close to 100 bred cows for sale this Friday at 6 p.m. JCRLM.com, your livestock authority. Again, that's the Jackson County Regional Livestock Market with their bred cow sale this Friday at 6 o'clock. We kick off your news today with the final of our Buckeye Temp Tracker this spring, where we've been keeping track of soil temperatures around the state week to week. Brought to you by B&A Genetics, real service, real results. The final reading showed both corn stubble and bean stubble averaging nearly 69 degrees statewide as of May 19th. That's more than 8 degrees warmer than last year in corn stubble and over 10 degrees warmer in bean stubble at the same time last year. Now, the year's tracking featured weekly readings from Ottawa, Preble, Licking, and Medina counties. Final reported temperatures range from 68 to 70 degrees among those four areas. Strong soil warmth as crops continue to emerge and develop across Ohio. Finally, as we may note, as it's been a roller coaster of a ride as far as temperatures this spring. The lows came the week of April 7th when, for instance, we got down to 32 degrees in Ottawa County, and the highs actually before this week were the next week after that on April 14th when readings were right at about 64 degrees, and from there it went down, and again the roller coaster continued. Find the full interactive Buckeye Temp Tracker online at ohioagdat.com. A special thank you goes out to contributors this year, Sheldon Miller, Brandon Moneybreak, Andy Hollenbeck, and Tyler Arders for providing their weekly updates through the spring season. Again, the Buckeye Temp Tracker has been brought to you by B&A Genetics, real service, real results. That and quite a bit of other news online today at ohioagdat.com, including talking about herbicide considerations, what you need to be thinking about. Our own Joe Everett checks in.
Wet conditions continue to slow planting and burn down herbicide applications across parts of Ohio, while other farmers are nearly wrapped up thanks to the recent stretch of good weather. Ohio State says the changing weather pattern from freezing nights to warm afternoons and windy days has created a few challenges for herbicide performance this spring. Cold temperatures can slow down products like glyphosate and 2,4-D, while contact herbicides such as paraquat, glufosinate work best in warm, sunny conditions. Letting weeds recover for a day or two after a freeze can help improve control before spraying. For fields already planted, recent rains have helped activate residual herbicides in many areas, but cooler weather can also increase the risk of early soybean injury from some products. Most early season injury is cosmetic, but growers should still monitor stands and weed pressure closely. And for farmers already delayed by windy conditions, it is important to watch label restrictions carefully, especially with products containing Valor, Fierce, Spartan, or Authority, since some cannot legally be applied more than 3 days after planting. For more information, you can find this full article today at ohioagnet.com. Reporting for the Ohio AgNet, I'm Joe Everett.
Thanks, Joe. Also, check out the latest Ohio Field Leader podcast, where our own Dusty Sonnenberg talks with Taylor Dill, talking planting progress and management tips there. And then a nice uplifting story about a senior FFA member reflecting on their 4 years of leadership opportunities. All that and much more at ohioagdat.com. We'll talk more farm news in a moment, but first let's talk weather. Thanks to Seed Consultants, Simply Better Performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. Over to Ryan Martin.
Some lingering moisture through the Buckeye State for your Wednesday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Quick forecast update for you here. The frontal boundary that was triggered this moisture is trying to move away, but it's slowing. It's stalling a little bit. So I think through your Wednesday, we are going to be seeing active chances of moisture south and east of a line from, well, let's just call it Cleveland to Cincinnati. That doesn't mean it's all roses in the rest of the state. I think we see plenty of clouds and maybe a few spits and sprinkles, but it's an attempt by the atmosphere to try and clear and push this stuff out. I'm going to hold off on a wide open sun kind of forecast until we get into tomorrow, Thursday. High pressure slides slowly across the Great Lakes. That's what gives us the sunshine for Thursday. And then as that high moves out, moisture comes back up around the backside from the south. That's going to be on Friday. Showers and thunderstorms spreading over the entire state and lingering through a large part of Saturday. Even some hit and miss action on Sunday. It is definitely a wet finish to the week and weekend. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Hard to believe, but it's already coming up on Memorial Day weekend. The unofficial start to summer, and yes, it is this weekend. That also marks the start of grilling season. So let's talk domestic meat demand. Barrett Nelson, as an economist with the American Farm Bureau, tells us consumers are eating more meat than ever before, even as prices are higher at the meat case.
Homegrown meat continues to be a staple for all of our American families. And according to Meat Institute, meat sales hit a record high, $112 billion last year, with more than 98% of American households buying meat for daily meals.
Now, it also comes as the U.S. beef industry has received good news this past week as China's General Administrator of Customs granted overdue registration exemptions to 425 U.S. beef establishments under China's Food Import Food Establishment System, also called CIFER. In addition to that, 77 new U.S. beef establishment registrations were added to the system, with those registrations now valid for 5 years. Some American beef companies do remain suspended from exporting to China. However, a White House fact sheet says that China will work with U.S. regulators to eventually lift all suspensions of U.S. beef facilities. U.S. Meat Export Federation President and CEO Dan Hellstrom.
There's a hidden benefit with China as well. Simply having China in the market, because the product mix is pretty common across Asia, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, as well as China, you're going to see a halo effect on pricing for all these markets. Items like short plates, for example, have the potential to have $1 to $2 a pound increases in price just from having China back on the world stage.
Now stay tuned. We'll talk more farm news coming up next on the Ohio AgNet.
Hi, I'm Tyler Miller, a soybean farmer from Crawford County. When I grow soybeans, I'm not just raising a crop, I'm creating fuel at home. Biodiesel adds nearly $2 to our bushel price and strengthens our energy independence. If you're not using biodiesel on your farm, now's the time. If you're not sure how to get it, ask your local fuel supplier. Ready to turn last year's crop into this year's fuel? Learn more at soyohio.org.
This message is brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Wake up, Ohio farmers! Ohio's Country Journal is bringing the coffee to you. We're stopping by rural coffee shops, diners, and your favorite morning gathering spots across the state. And while we're there, the first 25 folks through the door get a free cup of coffee, a limited edition Ohio's Country Journal mug, and the latest issue of OCJ, all on us. Want us to visit your hometown hangout? Head to ocj.com/coffee shop and sign up your local spot today. Brought to you by Leist Mercantile and Ohio's Country Journal, your source for Ohio farm news.
The Ohio AgNet continues. A new approach to agricultural research. Our own Brianna Smith tells us more.
From the Ground Up is a USDA-funded project taking a different approach to agricultural research. Instead of researchers deciding what questions need answered, the project starts with farmers and the challenges they are seeing in their own fields. From there, university researchers help design trials, collect data, and measure results in real-world farm conditions. Wayne County farmer Scott Myers is part of the Project Organic Research Group.
So we're working with the From the Ground Up project. The node, as they call it, that we are part of is an organic node. And there's a group of us that are working on looking at forages and cover crops such as clover, alfalfa, and peas that overwinter, and then harvesting those for forage and comparing if we harvest them or if we leave them and plow them under, which is better for the following corn crop.
How has this project differed from other research work that you've done with Ohio State?
One of the nice things is with From the Ground Up, it's a farmer-led project. So the farmers came up with the ideas and how we were going to go about this. We get together as a group and talk through that. But the researchers from Ohio State and Central State, we're all here working together, and they are here basically to do what I would call from a farmer standpoint, the hard work, collecting the data and basically being out there every week, scouting the fields, making sure that we're recording everything we need to record. So as a farmer, I get to do what I do best and farm. And yes, we still need to make sure we're keeping track of some things like that, but they're out here pulling soil tests. They're out here pulling tissue tests on the forages and recording a lot of that stuff. And then they take all that data back, and then they're the ones that are crunching the numbers. We don't have to do that. Not that the other times that we work with universities on research projects, not that they don't do some of that stuff, but one of the neat things is usually they come to us and tell us, this is how you're going to do everything. In this case, we all worked together and then told them, hey, let's work together on this, and how can we make it better for the farmer? Sometimes they'll have parameters that aren't really workable and are out in a big field situation. They work great in a test plot, but for a farmer, it may not work. And so we can tell them that ahead of time, and then they adjust the study to work with us.
And you're on year 2 of this project so far, right? It's a multi-year study?
So yeah, we're second year into the project, And it's a 3 to 4 year, kind of depends on how things go here. And we actually have 2 separate fields. So the first field, it's based on our crop rotation. So the way our crop rotation works, we take a wheat field and then we frost seed red clover into that wheat field, usually in January or February, and harvest the wheat. And then that red clover is the clover that we are using for our study. And so after the wheat is harvested, we go in and we mow the whole field, just shred it, leave it on the field, and then we will harvest half the field and then just mow and leave the other half go. And do that until the next spring, which would be now. And so here over the next 3 to 4 weeks, we will harvest half and then plow the entire field and keep track of that for our corn crop this year. That's on that field. And then we have a second field, actually right beside it, where that is actually in wheat this year and was frost seeded to clover back in February. So we'll be able to repeat this next year then. And so not only will they follow the corn crop this year, they will also look at the soybeans that follow that corn crop, and just to see if there's anything that maybe shows up that's different between the two on yields, on quality, even on soil tests.
Well, we'll continue to look forward to learning more about From the Ground Up. Again, my guest today was Scott Myers of Woodland Acres Farm in Wayne County. You can read more about the farmer-led research effort called Farm the Ground Up online at ohioagnet.com. Reporting for Ohio's Country Journal and Ohio AgNet, I'm Brianna Smith.
Thank you, Scott and Brianna. Stay tuned to the Ohio AgNet. A look at market numbers overnight and a little bit of what's driving those coming up next.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
Are you looking for the latest in Ohio agriculture? Well, you can get it all in one place. The Ohio AgNet Podcast. Join us as we sit down with farmers, experts, and ag leaders from across the Buckeye State. From the latest news to interviews that matter, we're here to keep you informed and connected. Whether you're in the tractor, the truck, or the shop, we bring the conversation to you. Search Ohio AgNet Podcast on your favorite app or find it on Facebook or YouTube. Don't miss a minute of the Ohio AgNet Podcast. Subscribe today.
Let's talk about commodity markets here on the Ohio AgNet. And this market analysis brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to bring a brand new soybean crush facility to Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Learn more about marketing your soybeans with LDC at 574-566-2113. Over to Ryan.
Grain markets relatively boring in the lead up to midweek. No new news stories yesterday. The analysts were shifting through all sorts of world ag trade flows and trying to figure out where the next round of demand is going to come from. We're here at the midweek stretch and trying to find out what's going to hold us over for your Wednesday. We've got weekly export sales report that comes out tomorrow. The U.S.-China trade pact was continuing on the traders' minds yesterday, but right now most are sifting through and saying it's going to be a corn-wheat story, not necessarily soybeans, and we're also waiting to see if there's any other kind of shoe that needs to drop other than the $17 billion worth of additional ag buying in China. Let's go to weather. That's going to be a story here moving forward as well. More rain coming as we move through today, kind of pushing off to the southeast, but another big flow of moisture up into the eastern Corn Belt to finish the weekend. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Ryan. Let's jump into how markets are looking overnight. At last check, July corn in Chicago down 2 1/4 to $4.73 per bushel, as December new crop corn at $4.95 1/4, down 2 1/2 cents overnight. July soybeans off 3 1/4 to $12.06 1/4, as new crop beans are sitting at $11.99 3/4, down 3 1/4 cents. And July wheat off 1 1/4 to a price of $6.66 per bushel. September wheat down 1 1/2 cents to $6.78 3/4. Markets brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. On the livestock side, June cattle closed Tuesday up $1.18 to $254.55. August feeder cattle gained $4.80 on the day to $363.65. Lean hogs for June down 60 cents to 97.93 as July lean hogs dropped 60 cents as well to 102.15. And then milk seeing about a penny gain for Class 3 in June. A price of $16.65 is where they're ending up. As always, find more farm news and much more online at ohioagnet.com. I'm Joel Norwood. Thank you for tuning in to the Ohio AgNet.